There's an unfortunate number of people these days who think they have the drop on low-budget cinema just because they caught the Birdemic meme when it came through.
So then I guess, as is the logical progression, the scene where a guy comes to his house and...
What's unfortunate about this is people really, they just are not getting how abysmally cheap some movie productions can be. Can you imagine a life of never mining below the y-axis of 20 in Minecraft? Well, that's what's happening to you unless you've seen some real salt-of-the-earth backyard cinema. I'm talking about stuff made by guys who watch movies all night, who ring up grandma and say, "Hey grandma, I found my purpose in life. Could you short me some of your social security to follow my dreams?" "Sure, honey. Can I see what you made?" Oh dear. A good example I think has gotten some people familiar with this whole thing is Mike Borchardt and the crew from the American Movie documentary. And when you're watching it, you can see how fascinating these small-scale productions of movies like their short Coven can be at times.
It's Coven, man. What else could it be pronounced?
Coven. That's the proper pronunciation.
No. Coven. No. Coven sounds like oven, man, and that's just, it doesn't work.
And I don't want to take away any of their credit, but I have to point out that these people in this documentary were deep under everyone's radar. And it really is sort of a miracle that they got discovered by these documentarians to make their story accessible to the public. You know that there has to be a wealth of weirdos with way too much time on their hands who managed to create tons of media that looks nothing like anything a conventional producer who is deeply concerned with making their money back could ever create. And now that the age of the internet has arrived, there's a new opportunity to plunder and to give a pulse back to these movies that never quite made it out of someone's basement. Thanks, Al Gore. Now, it's true that not all movies that are bubbling to the surface are going to be fun to watch, but one thing you can be certain of, it's going to be a very pure expression of the person who made that movie. And what's great about that is that the people who end up making these sort of things, they're always going to be some sort of eccentric and fascinating too.
I am a filmmaker. I used to be a filmmaker, but I am presently now a modern painter and artist making portraits and stuff.
Look in the camera.
So getting a moment to see things from their perspective is really, it's kind of a one-of-a-kind treat. But I want to argue that plenty are worth watching. For example, the hidden gem that I want to talk about, The Witching, written and directed by Matthew Jason Walsh in 1993. Matthew Jason Walsh at this point is an underground horror veteran, having written and composed music for over 35 movies, including some work with horror icon David Dakota on stuff like Witch House, Cougar Cult? What is going on? But back in 1993, he was still in the backyard video scene of Kansas City, Missouri, where he got paired up with another backyard legend, Todd Sheets, who is kind of like a movie power plant, who basically pumps out a cheap movie every time there's a change in the season. He managed to utilize his magically gelled troupe of suburbanites, who are all somehow willing to commit to MacGyvering production after production for him. Now I want you to take a good long look at how this movie looks. Okay, even Coven was shot in an actual film. To get this look, not only do you have to shoot it on a camcorder, the tape itself needs to be properly abused before release. And I don't want to hear a single complaint. You must learn to love the fuzz. If this wasn't cool, we wouldn't have so many SoundCloud artists clamoring to recreate the effect for their music videos. And people wouldn't be buying all this guitar gear just so they could sound like this. The differences between reality and what actually shows up on screen is always been super central to what a movie's value is going to be. You know, whether it's the ephemeral beauty of silent films, or the painterly qualities of 35mm in the 60s and 70s, or the visual representation of mildew from shot-on-video VHS tapes, it's all the same. And for me, when you get something this scuzzed out, what you're seeing becomes both very similar and foreign to you at the same time. And on that note, I want to point out, most mainstream movies are wanting to offer you something that is bigger and better and beyond reality, and I like that. But with all the ingredients together, what you're going to get with this shot-on-video type stuff is you're actually going to be going the opposite direction. What you're making is something that is sub-reality.
Bring the story of the Pilgrims to the big screen.
It was very exciting.
You know, a place where physics and other natural forms of structure just start to fade without explanation. Things don't quite cut in the places you expect them to.
Can't we get somewhere on time for once, for Pete's sake?
Honey, I know you're upset about not getting to...
Things aren't lit the way they should be. And not only is there background whir, but it changes intensity between shots.
Problem with that? Very well then.
Well...
And if you gaze hard enough, watching it really does start to feel like a weird dream being played out sometimes. And this is amplified even more when almost everything that appears on screen obviously is coming from an era that is no longer with us. Take note, there is not a single set in sight. What you see is the organic reality of actual lived-in spaces in suburban Missouri in the early 90s. I mean, they didn't even clear off the counters. If you were around during this time, it would be movies like this that unlocked your latent memories. Certainly more so than those movies from that same era that made you feel bad about how uncool your room was. It's almost like you're peering into the toilet and seeing the past in the reflection. I'm in heaven watching you poop. Like most in this scene, both Matthew Walsh and Todd Sheets are known for their horror output. The Witching stands out as more of a childish adventure. This is the embodiment of a jubilant pizza party sleepover, channeling the spirit of both Ninja Turtles and old late night MTV. It's a mood that basically doesn't really exist in movies today anymore, now that any movie that isn't rated R is supposed to appeal to literally every age group, so that the only thing that ends up on screen are the lowest common denominators, and it's meant to work for both 3-year-olds and the most regressive adults in our society. This is a movie that is made just for 12-year-olds, and authentically so, because while stuff like the Ninja Turtles had to make people like the FCC happy,
The biggest problem is she can't hold her breath long enough, you know?
Well, okay, coming up, the turtles...
these guys, obviously that was the last thing on their mind.
God, look at the bazooms on that baby.
Because they're like, yeah, let's write this cute plot with a witch queen portal being summoned in your refrigerator. Something that could be a Goosebumps episode. But we also have to add in blow-up doll jokes and peppered profanity.
Okay, dickhead, let's get down to business.
Because everyone knows that's exactly what 12-year-olds actually want. And is that dumb? Well, yeah, but it's a comfy type of dumb. First thing you get is the classic teenager, Stuart, who has issues with his parents. An absolute necessity for any domestic family in a movie. Dad is kind of a jerk and wants to send him to military school, and Mom is stifling and overprotective. And this introduction bit is a really good example of how any sense of negativity is automatically just sucked out by how absolutely hammy everything in this movie is. Starting with the dialogue.
Mr. Flopcheck had a very bad experience in Vietnam.
It's none of that damn fruitcake, if you ask me.
If there's anything I fundamentally love in a movie, it's when it catches me off guard. And this movie did that to me like over and over and over again, with just the absolutely baffling lines that just get blurted out by absolutely everyone with a speaking part in this movie. Even though everything is okay in the end, family dysfunction on screen can still feel pretty uncomfortable.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
Stop it! In this case, I wouldn't mind listening to his gripes all day for some reason.
Can we leave sometime, please? All this on and on and on. If we get in the car right now, we might be able to get down there just in time to see him clean up after the show.
And similarly with Mom here, there are plenty of boring ways to make her seem nagging, but these are the things she nags him about.
And you can't use a microwave when Grandma's in the kitchen. It sets off her pacemaker, and goodness knows we wouldn't want that. And don't tell her her dog is dead. She doesn't know that yet.
Plus, who doesn't like a classic line flub?
Dad and I have really been looking forward to seeing Bonnie Franklin's off-Broadway one-woman.
And Stuart here, he's supposed to be an irritated teenager, which usually will end up being one of my least favorite characters in a movie. But Stu here is intense!
Oh my God!
Even his mundane lines are comically veracious. The basic premise is he wants to go to this concert, but he has to stay home to take care of his grandma. The way he is fuming about how his life is ending is absolutely unhinged.
This sucks. This fight's the big one. You know where I should be right now? Do you? I should be in the men's room at the Wimbledon Coliseum, puking up blood in a paid toilet while Blacktooth plays her last set.
And if that's not enough, did you see his jacket? An incoming comic relief? So this is Morris, the dopey sidekick. Another very necessary trope. Now he's worth pausing on for a minute because out of everyone, he really lays it on the thickest. And unfortunately, this character may run the risk of ruining this movie for some people.
I see something. Is it something scary?
I mean, I have to guess maybe one of the reasons is the choice in timbre he used when speaking his lines.
I don't know if you should be doing that, Stuart. Remember in the movie, The Amityville Horror?
But even for him, as time goes on, and you just continue to just gaze at that ponytail, top button, and the way he hangs his arms to the side, I slowly grew to love him, okay? But I might say maybe only in the same way that an old person learns to love their ugly Shih Tzu. I mean, he brought Parcheesi because he found out that Stewart couldn't go to the concert. What a nice guy. And fun note is he's played by Mike Hellman, who did the effects for this, along with several other of Todd Sheets' movies. Wait till you see what he came up with for this one. And then without even changing scene, bam! Supporting character, Mr. Flopcheck, a neurotic Vietnam vet that sits on his balcony in a poncho looking for aliens.
Still looking for those goddamn UFOs that took my wife. And when they come back, I'll be ready.
Listening to him struggle through his lines and throw in some weird pronunciation now and then is probably one of my favorite parts of this movie. And they still keep stacking things up because they go inside and we get to meet, like, the queen of this movie, Grandma. First of all, Morris, you need to stay at least one Bible's width away from Grandma on the couch, you dog. I mean, I was already pumped after I heard that her dog had died and her family's trying to keep it a secret because she still thinks it's alive. But Grandma, what a performer. There is nothing about her that isn't funny. Look at her damn dog. And the way she flips her headscarf. Even when she's in a hellscape, she's still spunky. Most of what she does is just sit on the couch and quip about what she's watching on TV. But that's enough for me.
Well, Jeopardy certainly has changed since the last time I saw it. Why didn't Alex Trebek have any pants on?
So now consider, we now have all these remarkable characters integrated into this movie within 5 minutes. Before any real plot is even laid out, I'm already hooked because I'm perfectly happy just watching these people interact with each other. Bam! Yes! A green light! Here's our next trope, supernatural intrigue. The light leads them to an old book written by one of Stewart's colonial ancestors named Goodman Benny. What an unnecessary joke to put in, and I love it.
Goodman Benny came to the States back in the 1600s. I remember Gramps and Grandma telling me about him. He's the one who built this house.
Now wait a minute, does that house look 300 years old to you? But what's more important is that old Goodman Benny was a witch hunter. And he wrote down the words to the incantation that would allow the Queen of Witches to immerse our land in eternal darkness. Benny! Don't you think those words would be better off just, like, not written down and forgotten? The suspense builds as he struggles through the book like the kid you don't want to get called on to read aloud in class.
And her acolytes to limbo.
Okay, good enough.
Watachi wa onigasuki desu. I can't hear you! I can't hear you! I can't hear you! Bing bong, bada bing bong.
Here comes the big reveal.
There is a hallway in my refrigerator.
I saw that, Stuart.
And this is Stewart's reasoning for going in.
When Mom and Dad get back from the theater, they're gonna see this and shit dead puppies.
So they go in, but not without yet another classic trope.
Wait a minute. I'm not going in there. No way. And you can't make me either.
You have to love that this supernatural passage to limbo has wood door frames and exposed pipes. Ah, look!
It's time, my little beauties!
I mean, from this first shot, I can't even tell what this guy's supposed to look like, but I am pretty sure I can tell that he's picking his nose. He's definitely picking his nose. I really wish I knew what they wanted him to look like before they came to this. Poor guy has to shout to be heard from underneath that ugly thing.
Why'd you do that? What is that?
But the decision to put a baseball hat on your witchy goon is one of those choices that makes this movie special. It's the spirit of youth. Just like it! Behold, Morgana, the Queen of the Witches! Played by Veronica Orr, one of Todd Sheets' victims. Yet another example of someone doing way more than they needed to.
The sooner I can concentrate on being a really nasty bitch.
Her outfit must be made of like $10 in thrift and costume store materials. And yet she knows she is going to make it look good. And look at that thing on her shoulder. Now get ready for a 15-second getaway through this corner of limbo that looks strangely like unkempt steel shelving that leads back to their glowing green refrigerator with some very shot-on-video audio. Oh, of course, the heavy-duty kitchen chain, a household fixture. Morgana learns from this snow globe that Stuart is the descendant of Goodman Benny and throws an epic tantrum. It was revealed that she needs 3 incredibly specific things to take over the world.
Meat that is not meat, the clock that counts the beat of a heart, and 3 drops of virgin blood.
Jeez.
Now back to our leads. Stuart's feeling a little bit flustered.
I have a headache. A really bad headache. An adult-sized bangaroo.
Huh? Okay, come on. This shot, no matter how cheaply shot it is glorious. You know, it's like ice cream. Only 3 pure ingredients makes the good stuff. Floodlight, fog, and a silhouette is one of those things. Okay, tension diffused. And if only she just lifted that hood off her eyes, it really doesn't quite look as menacing from this angle. Wow, did you fit those bangs in that hood? She wouldn't even need to wear a helmet on a bike. That poof could handle any impact. This is our new character, Bethany, the stepdaughter of Morgana. But she's good and wants to help take her down. And now, she might be one of the few characters that doesn't exactly ham up their performance like the others. But somehow, it isn't any less entertaining.
We must get out of here quickly. My whole world's ready to fall apart.
Did you all like the lighting and sound in that one? Especially in the moments where she's being contrasted with everyone else's ridiculous performances.
This is really starting to get out of hand.
Oh no, I can feel something. Something bad.
And you all still want to talk about this guy?
Can't you guys come back some other time, like on a Wednesday night when my dad gets home from work or something?
What is this?
Oh no.
Is that pouting? Please. No! Stop! No! It transitions back to the lady of the house, and not a second too soon. I didn't realize how much I missed her until the movie showed her again.
Let's scare crazy fat Ethel to death. It's terror that should only be imagined.
I'm glad that Shatner boy is getting some work after those dreadful margarine commercials he did.
In that little bit, not only do you get a solid drop of horror fan service, you also get a little piece of Hollywood history. Did you know about this? Furthermore, in this moment, they make room for this other awesome side character, Mr. Flopchak, to come and really shine. So why is this strange man coming over with a bag of food to hang out?
It's time for my favorite TV show, Nude Mud Wrestling USA. And I can't watch it on my TV because the aliens, the crafty bastards, are controlling my brainwaves through my TV, so I thought I'd come over and watch yours.
How is it that so many people are trying so hard to be funny and are failing, and yet these normal suburbanites somehow manage to make everything funny without even trying? His glasses, the way he constantly is struggling through his lines.
Well, I was up at my UFO watching post, and I have...
The way he sits down, pulls out a hot dog and tall beer, and throws the trash on the floor at his neighbor's house.
Could you pass me that remote? My hands are kind of full.
Look at them watching nude mud wrestling together.
Oh, I'm so glad all those young ladies are getting work on TV.
It's also here where he drops one of the best lines in the whole damn movie.
God, look at that, son of a bitch. I got wiener goo all over my best fatigues.
And Grandma tops it all off with dragging her dead dog across the floor to take a bath. Woo! Another monster. And I also have to appreciate that they're including yet another dressed and made up monster person for them to wrestle around with. Now, I want to ask you, what do you think is the best way that this movie could resolve this situation? Because I'm going to bet, no matter what it is that you come up with, it's still not better than what this movie actually ended up doing. Mr. Flopchak and Morris are unconscious on the couch, but there's a knock at the door, and Morris pops right up to answer it casually, and he finds out that Mr. Flopchak ordered a pizza from some kind of topless titty delivery service place.
What a dick.
And then, quite gingerly, this happened. Okay, that right there is cinematic poetry. And after it all, Mr. Flopshack really has only one concern, that king.
Hey, has anybody seen my hot dog?
But there is a point to that.
Products. Meat that's not meat!
What is more pure and adolescent than adding hot dogs as a central plot piece to your movie? What else could you do to make things better, other than turning Morris into a frog with some random rogue attack that came out of nowhere? Creating an opportunity for a special effect that was never truly meant to be seen by humans. Well, at least the fridge is still locked, right? Too bad they didn't know that Grandma's in the kitchen chewing the scenery, singing Helter Skelter and feeding her beloved animal.
Come on now, you eat. You eat. Oh, that's a good boy. That's so good.
Jeez, if that thing wasn't dead before, it is now. But she haplessly unlocks the refrigerator. I hope she put the chain back in the cupboard where it belongs. Uh-oh, they got her, and it's Stuart who finds out why.
See now, a lady with dentures, a dead dog, and a pacemaker. Oh my God! The clock that counts the beat of the heart. They're gonna rip her pacemaker out!
Alright, now the goons are out, and we get to see them in action. And they go after poor Morris. And they get him even after the true hero of the movie, the pizza delivery girl, viciously microwaves one of their heads. And then execute like another perfect adolescent movie moment when she throws a slice of pizza like a ninja star. And despite clearly bouncing off his face in the shot, it manages to fully penetrate his face and stick into it. Now, you might ask, why would they take Morris?
She only needs one more thing to complete the Pazuzu configuration, which is 3 drops of virgin blood.
Morris!
So, will the Pazuzu configuration spread its darkness over the whole world? Or will Stuart and his friends save the day? I can tell you these things. It does involve a classic horse Skelly chasing them to a homemade heavy metal song. Yes! And we also get this classic line double whammy, which I can't leave out.
Why don't you go ram a broomstick up your ass, baby?
Been there. Done that.
And Grandma does end up punching Morgana in the face.
I'll teach you to have some respect for your elders, Missy.
Now I realize there's going to be many people who just cannot stomach this stuff enough to see what I see in it. You know, I don't know, maybe it's similar to like going to a third world country and not being able to drink the same water that the locals are drinking just fine. To me, this movie really is a masterpiece of amateur creativity and demonstrates a genuinely good sense of pacing. I feel like The Witching is a great expression of somebody who is raised with movies and really just wanted to celebrate all the things that he loved most about those movies that he grew up watching. And all in all, this is a great introduction to shot-on-video backyard cinema if you haven't ever exposed yourself to anything like that before.